What is credit and how does it work? Owning your time is the foundation of freedom in any society. The ability to decide how you'll spend your hours in a day, your weeks in a year, your years in a life, that's a form of power. But over time, that power, the working class's ability to decide how they will best use their time, has been taken away. It's been sold and it's been repackaged in the form of credit and debt. Because credit and debt aren't just about money, they're about ownership. They are tools that keep the poor poor while making the richest among us, well, even richer. Welcome back to Econ Club, the first finance club for the 99%, where we break down everyday topics related to money, economics, spending, and saving for everyday people like you. Looking to learn more? Click the subscribe button on this channel and the bell so that you receive all notifications when I post new short and long form videos to the Econ Club channel. Today we're asking, what is credit and how does it actually work? Credit is supposed to represent trust, the ability to borrow today and repay tomorrow. But in practice, credit has become a system that dictates who gets access to opportunity, who gets access to rest, and who must keep working just to survive. Every loan, every line of credit, every payment plan is a way of saying you can have time, but only if you pay interest on that time that you borrow. As feminist scholar and activist Sylvia Federici writes in Revolution at Point Zero, Housework, Reproduction, and Feminist Struggle, only from a capitalist viewpoint, being productive is a moral virtue, if not a moral imperative. From the viewpoint of the working class, being productive simply means being exploited. End quote. Federici reminds us that capitalism didn't just take people's land or money when it was first established as an economic model, it took ownership of people's time. And when our hours, our care work, even our rest are measured in productivity, we stop being people and we become assets. Credit extends your future into the hands of a bank. Debt ensures that a portion of your future labor already belongs to someone else. That's not just economics, that's ownership. And credit, we know, is not a new concept. In Western Europe, versions of it existed as far back as the Middle Ages. Merchants traded promises to pay, the most nobles of the nobles loaned to each other, and wealthy families built whole fortunes off the debts of other people. In the United States, before there were credit cards or credit scores, people relied on store credit and community trust. If you didn't have the money today, you'd go to your local shopkeeper who knew your family and they'd write your name in a little ledger. You settled what you owed when you were paid or when your harvest came in. Credit at that point was personal, local, person to person, relational. It wasn't yet a system of surveillance. But by the 20th century, that started to change. Department stores and banks realized they could turn credit into a product, something to profit from. By the 1950s, plastic credit cards replaced community trust with corporate tracking. By 1989, the FICO score turned human lives into a single number, a formula that decided who was safe to lend to and who was not. Credit went from being a tool for access to a tool for exclusion. Credit also wasn't invented by banks. Across Africa, long before colonial banking systems, communities had already built very sophisticated credit structures: susus, stokvels, chamas, tontines. These were collective savings and lending circles that were rooted in trust, accountability, and community well being. Credit wasn't about interest, it was about inclusion. When European banking systems expanded throughout colonization, they labeled these systems informal while imposing their own structures designed to extract and to control the population. Colonial economies used debt to enforce dependency, a pattern that echoes globally today, especially in the world of global commerce. In modern America, we're taught that your credit score reflects your worthiness, how responsible you are, how good you are with money, how much you can be trusted. But let's call it what it is. It is classism. Because there are a number of people that are born into this world where they do not have to demonstrate that they're responsible with money. They just need to be born into a world where their parents have a lot of it. The idea that a person's value can be ranked based on how much money they have or how much access they have to money can be very dangerous. Credit does not measure our inherent worthiness as people. We're born inherently worthy of safety, of protection, joy, ambition, dreams. Credit does, however, measure our proximity to access. It measures how well someone fits into a system that rewards wealth and punishes struggle. When you're wealthy, debt is your leverage. Debt is what enables you to potentially build your wealth. When you're poor, debt is punishment. Debt is what enables you to remain in scarcity. And the system was built, especially under capitalism, to keep that going as that relationship, that wealth inequality. Debt is ownership, not of property, but of our time that we have on earth. And when you owe, your future is spoken for. Your labor is pre sold to someone else. That's how the working class loses not just money, but freedom, the freedom to decide how to live, when to rest, what to create. But do not fear, because we still live in a world where mutual aid exists, where circular economies exist that are meant to ensure that we don't treat people as disposable. Credit systems are built on dependency. They promise mobility, but they deliver a lot of control over people. The richest among us then profit not necessarily by working harder, but by owning the time, labor, and debt of everyone else, which is how we went from feudalism to capitalism, especially in the West. And here's the truth: systems like this survive because most people were never meant to understand them. They depend on our confusion, they depend on our shame, and they depend on our silence and lack of information. As Asada Shakur once reminded us in Asada, an autobiography from 1987, no one is going to give you the education you need to overthrow them. Nobody is going to teach you your true history, teach you your true heroes, if they know that that knowledge will help set you free. That applies here too. No one at the top of these systems is going to really teach us how credit and debt truly work, because financial understanding is our superpower. And power is exactly what we've been taught to surrender, it's what we've been taught to give up on. So, what would it mean to reclaim credit, to reclaim our time itself? It starts with understanding that our worthiness is not defined by a score, by how much debt we can carry. It's defined by our collective ability to challenge systems that profit from our exhaustion and that profit from the exhaustion of other people. When we understand credit, we understand how power works in our society. And when we understand how power works in our society, we can change who holds that power, making it so that power is held equitably around the world. That's what Econ Club is about: reclaiming the economics, the finances of our lives, our time, and our communities. From the trenches to a tender way of living, this is Bunny McKenzie Mack with Econ Club. See you next time.